With all of you, John Maeda.
Hi, everybody. Okay. My face. Hello. Okay, how are we feeling? San Francisco, nice? It's always so nice here. Okay, well, I prepared some ideas, and we can change any time, flexible. So this is not a YouTube video, whatever. Hi. Okay, so first off, I was noticing just now, like a few minutes ago backstage, there's this really cool screen that has all the different time points. This is the YouTube whatever thing. And then I noticed how like there's an MCP server, for those who know what that means. Anyway, it's a little tech joke. Okay, so I woke up this morning, and who loves pop art? Pop art lovers, you know, it looks like old stuff, but it's actually art. That's the weird thing about it. And AI models. And I'll tell you why. I remember hearing about there was some kind of legal thing about Roy Lichtenstein, who would make these pop art things, and they're based on comic books. And so I thought I would ask ChatGPT to make a kind of a Lichtenstein type of thing. And then when I saw that, I was like, it's such a fun time because you can sort of make different things so quickly. So I wanted to sort of explore male fragility instead, because that's always like a woman or something, whatever. So I did this, you know? It's kind of, right? You can quickly flex and change it, you know? So anyways, it's an interesting time to think out loud, to think to yourself, and just sort of audition ideas fairly quickly. I have a friend, Dr. Regina Dugan. Some of you may know her, may have worked with her, but she just sent me this commencement speech that I'll play the first minute of. She is an incredible leader. So if you have a chance to watch this, it's 17 minutes worth your time.
Leading class of 2025, congratulations. I am thrilled to be here. As I stand before you, I have one question. What's inside your burning building? More precisely, what matters enough to you that you'd be willing to run into a burning building to save it? Answering this question is how you conquer the most paralyzing emotion in life, fear. And it is how you build a life full of meaning. So let's talk about fear. I think fear gets a bad rap. To the vast majority of people, fear is an obstacle. They are ashamed of it, consider it a sign of weakness. Their instinct is to avoid it, walk away from it.
That's a taste, so please watch it, because in the next 3 minutes, she explains how at the age of 9, she was diagnosed with catastrophic ovarian cancer and spent 3 years in chemotherapy back when that therapy was still experimental. And she explains how she rose to become the head of DARPA. And it's an amazing story of empowerment and just badassedness. So encourage you, if you have time, just to watch it, because this idea of fear is a thing. And fear can really control you. For some people, they have no fear. I know who you know who I'm talking about. But you know, oh, I'm fearless, whatever. Where'd that come from? How did you get to think like that? But most people have fear, and how do you deal with that is key. And I was asked by the organizers just a few minutes ago, what keeps me up at night? So I found it. I've been looking at population trends for a while because I was lucky in my early 30s to work with AARP, which is an organization that was focused on older people. And I was a young person. So I was like, older people, weird, you know? But I got to sort of look into my own future. Luckily, I'm still alive, so it's a good thing. And the Pew Research Trust has a lot of interesting studies from that era. This is like a race and ethnicity population trend. There's like at least like 30 stats to look at, but it shows a projection to the year 2040 or 2050 of how the US population would trend. If you can see here, sort of Caucasians trending downward, Hispanic, Black, and Asian trending upward. So that was a prediction in 2008. Not prediction, really. It was like a statistical analysis, so kind of more correct than just a guess. The other one that I thought was really important was this observation, that the world was moving from a population pyramid to a population rectangle. What does that mean? The population pyramid means a lot of young people, a lot of babies, a lot of youth culture. Remember, post-World War II, there were so many babies. People were happy that the world's okay, like Mordor was like vanished, right? And then old people died really fast because medical science wasn't that great. But what they predicted was that there'd be a shift to a population rectangle where you have equal sort of amounts of younger people and older people and middle-aged people. Now, why is that important? I think it's really important for people of all ages to feel the population rectangle, because I think what it means is it's going to be really hard for younger people, because the following is occurring already. People who are the very oldest ones are thinking, can I really retire right now? It's kind of rocky, you know? And what they're not going to do is retire, so that sort of clogs the system. It prevents the people in the middle to rise into leadership positions. And then you've got the people that are super young who are like, what's this AI thing? How's it going to impact my life? And they're just starting out. Then you have the people who are in their middle phase who are like so busy doing work that they don't have time to learn AI. So what you have is all three generations are experiencing fear, like Regina Dugan talked about. And how do you manage that is not so easy. But the one fear you can cure, I believe, is the AI fear, because it's something that you can understand. There's logic behind it. And I just wrote this a few minutes ago. These are like pre-pandemic, pre-Gen I, pre-Trump V2. So, I mean, like, right? So they look at that stuff because it's kind of very stable-minded thinking. Okay, so, okay. And every year at South by Southwest, I've been lucky to present a report called Design and Tech Report. I started when I was living here in the Valley, and this is an illustration I made that I tried to sort of capture the current moment. Oh, I just can do this now. So this here is the world of business, you know, excited. And then this is the world of tech, amazing. This is the AI feeling. This is the world of like startups, whoa, finally growing this space. This is like, oh my gosh, there's so much greenfield. We make PowerPoint decks about it. And then there's a design land that's kind of happy and curious, but what's gonna go? And then there's also the dark lagoon right there. So I think that's sort of like my landscape, my map of right now. Oh, and I realized I don't have to talk anymore because I wrote this like a couple weeks ago. Welcome to the 2025 Design and Tech Report, Auto Designers on Autopilot. This report connects business, design, tech, and the current AI landscape, highlighting emerging opportunities in this exciting time. Yeah, so I can just sit here and keep hitting play. And that's like generated in real time, so it's weird, right? So anyways, if you look at the report, all it is all of my bookmarks from the year, and I sort of print them out on pieces of paper and use in my living room or some conference room table and try to make sense of it. And this year, if there's anything that's sort of super important, I think it's this shift to AX, UX to AX, that's often called, and you know that's people hate making new acronyms, so I apologize. I didn't make that one, but it sort of rhymes with the UX, so it's kind of catchy. And the A, of course, stands for agents. And that opens up another can of worms, which I hope to sort of unworm. But the idea of user experience does make sense. I'm making it for a user. The idea of an agentic experience is I'm making it for an agent. So then you ask, like, where is the human in the AX? And the answer is not in there. But they are in there because they're designing, engineering these things. So the U is inside the A, and that's going to be really important to figure out as the craft of AX emerges. Now, I found that who travels alone a lot, travels alone? See, travel alone, right? You travel alone, you got no one to eat with. Have you noticed that? So you like notice the restaurant, you notice the things around the restaurant because you're not talking to someone sometimes. And so I was looking out the window at, I was in the Hilton at Austin, and I noticed like there was this trendy sign outside the window that I was like, whoa, what is that sign on this giant building? And so I asked GPT-4o to parse that for me. And I thought it was interesting. So I speed this up, but it's going through the thing. It's like figuring it out. I'm saying, what does this sign say? And it says, well, you know, it says Courtyard Marriott. Now, the key word in all of these responses is the word likely or the word maybe. You got to remember that this is all this new computation is just rolling the dice, and it's all probabilistic computation. So I love this word likely, and I hold dearly to it because can you imagine like there was some year where the model was like trained and didn't know that Courtyard Marriott paid for Gen Alpha marketing to like leet speak Courtyard Marriott, you know? And it would get it wrong. So likely is a good hedge. It could be wrong. So when people struggle with this idea of likely, I get to talk to a lot of executives who are struggling with this AI era. I mean, it's hard for the people who are older, the people who are middle, the people who are junior. And so the analogy I like to use a lot is the scissors. The scissors analogy comes from a man named Herbert Simon. He was a Carnegie Mellon professor, an OG in artificial intelligence, but also won the Nobel Prize for behavioral economics. He's the person who, if you've heard of Kahneman fast thinking, slow thinking, the reference work is Simon's work. And Simon described the brain as two blades of scissors, where you have cognition and you have context. If you have the two blades together, you come across as intelligent. An example I like to give is, so like if you have amnesia, you have cognition, but you're missing context. You know, you can think, but you don't have the memory, the context, and so you only have one blade of the scissors. On the other hand, you can have the context blade and no cognition. You know, that's like my younger brother. He's got all the opportunities of the world, but cannot put it together. Do you know what I mean? So that happens. So you need the two blades together, cognition and context, and that's how it works. And if you think about 2022, that was an important year when two metals fell from the sky. Maybe some of you know the Marvel franchise of Black Panther with vibranium. And I've noticed they've added adamantium from the other universe. So confusing. But, you know, a super powerful sort of like alien-like material. There's actually two kinds of alien material landed at the same time in 2022 at a degree of maturity. One is the completion model that finishes sentences, and the other is the embeddings model. And the embeddings model doesn't get a lot of like play. So I made for the report, I made a bunch of P5.js apps that no one actually can use but me, so sorry. But I can say like, I want to eat and so if you think about predictions, you know, it can sort of like think of predictions. And so if you notice, it's sort of guessed that maybe the best next word is delicious. And so how does it do that? It does that with the same mechanism we all have. For instance, if you were to go to This is San Francisco, so you know Las Vegas is nearby. So if you went to Las Vegas and there's someone out there with tickets, and it's like, oh, what is it, lucky lady, whatever, it's a lucky chance, whatever kind of thing, and they say, oh, hey, you wanna join a contest? Yeah. So okay, I want you to guess which first letter is the most common in the whole casino. Guess what the most common first letter is, right? And you get $1 million. So no one is going to guess Z. Maybe someone will, but anyways, okay. But X or whatever, some letters you're not going to guess, right? How did you do that? It's because you have a large language model that can predict things. You're probably going to guess J or A or M. And so that's all a completion model does. Really good at guessing. The other model that I think is actually the most important to the creative worlds, the design worlds, is the embedding worlds. And the embedding world is probably the best world because it's the world of context. The completion model is a world of cognition. Guess the thing, produce the thing. Context is the one that what is similar with, what rhymes with. Creative people have the most complex embedding space in their brain, I think. Because does anyone know what I'm talking about? You're a creative person. You can rhyme all these things, like grapefruit, with like deep fake, with like Wolverine. It's working, right? And then like smashed tomato. See, you're all doing it okay. But like some of them, I don't know what he's talking about. But you're able to find similarity and make entire spaces. So embeddings are really exciting. So if you don't play with them, you won't be able to actually get the context, all right? And that's pretty important. And all they do is they take a word, they take multiple words and produce a long vector of numbers. And that long vector of numbers is easy to compare to other things. And what happens is you're able to compare a word to a word to a sentence to a book to an image to 20 images. And you can compare them and get a scalar number. That's pretty weird. So embedding models, extremely powerful. And they're really not talked about a lot. Everyone talks about the completion models, but you got to give the embedding models more credit. Okay. There's also diffusion models, which I think anyone who's in the image space knows about. And I also did this for myself because I was trying to explain it to someone. For this group, you already know this, but it's the squinting model. It's like, I don't know what that is. And gradually recreate the model through for reverse squinting. And then, there's this model that came out when the report came out. It's called diffusion LLM. So it's like reverse squinting paragraphs. So it takes a whole paragraph and sort of has it sort of emerge. So anyways, there's going to be a lot of weird models, but I think the canonical models are not going to be that different. Okay, so why are images important? I've been wondering about this for a while as a person who makes, or used to make a lot more images, much less so. I'm more interested in words. I had the fortune of knowing a man named William J. Mitchell, who most of you in this group don't know anymore because he died in 2010. And when you die, your SEO goes to shit. So I'll just say that it just happens. Like once I'm gone, like who was that guy? But William J. Mitchell was amazing. And he was a classically trained architect, got interested in geometry. The person who introduced Frank Gehry to the CATIA finite element modeling software, so Frank Gehry could make those weird buildings that are titanium. That's because of William J. Mitchell, Bill Mitchell. But Bill wrote a book that I recommend to everyone in the imaging field to pick up. It's no longer printed. It's on eBay. It's like a few bucks, whatever. It's called The Reconfigured Eye. The Reconfigured Eye documents the history of image making by hand and by machine. And I'll never forget how one of the page spreads, he shows this picture of a Confederate soldier slain, sort of presented in newspaper. And there's another one of a Union soldier slain, and it's the same soldier. And so you ask, why is that possible? It's because the photographer had to make money, so they sold to two markets. They made one for this side and one for the other side. And when you think about it, it's kind of powerful because what does it say? It says that every image, we don't know if it was actually true. And this actually, he shows how it goes back to illustrations. Propaganda has been the most powerful tool of the image maker. And that is a responsibility and also a challenge. And those of you who know someone named Marshall McLuhan, also his SEO is terrible. He wrote a lot about media, and some people thought he was a lunatic, but if you read what he wrote, it makes a lot of sense. He wrote how politics will eventually be replaced by imagery. The politician will be only too happy to abdicate in favor of their image because the image will be much more powerful than they could ever be. I changed that now. But I want to note that this is like an old phenomenon. It's centuries, timeless old, how we use media to change how someone else thinks is a problem. Now, back to the friendly world of programming. I've been involved in programming for quite a while. I was the guy in the 90s who thought that coding was really important in design. And I was kind of like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the first part of that claymation thing. I was not very popular. But I thought it'd be useful for people to sort of cross coding with creativity. And a lot of the work that I did sort of ended up sort of doing things for, I guess, coding for other people, children, creative people. But now we're in the era of generative coding, so I do wonder, what is all that? And for those who want to sort of learn quickly about AI, I started this show at Microsoft called the Cozy AI Kitchen. There are now 45 episodes. This is not an avowed activity, sort of. It is with a friend in a video studio with green screen time. But if you want to learn AI cooking, I'm cooking all kind of things on that channel to help you understand everything from LLM evaluation to sort of like self-replicating agents and things like that. So if this is at all interesting to you, please check that out. Now, one insight I had last year was that, unfortunately, most of user experience design is about creating obstacle courses. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like it's like American Ninja, that thing where they like jump through those courses. Like, oh, I'm gonna put like a button here and put like a chain. I'm gonna make it possible for you to go through this. And like, I hope to make it here. It's an obstacle course. So the weird thing about this era is that you don't have to make the obstacle course. You can teleport the user to their goal if you know their intent. This is a powerful thing to do, and it's only possible if we think agent experience versus user experience. You can teleport someone to the goal, which is kind of weird. And one way to think of it is to, if you step way back, there's this great book by Neil Stephenson called In the Beginning There Was the Command Line. Anyone know that book? It's interesting. It's for free on the web, etc. It's kind of ranty, but the title is quite interesting. In the beginning, there was a command line. And his whole thesis is that the graphical user interface, the GUI, destroyed everything. Now, what do they mean by that? It's the fact that if you're talking with the command line or talking directly with the API, that's where all the power sits. When you create a graphical user interface, you're creating constraints and affordances for people to understand. But there's a limitation to what we can manipulate. So if you think about it, getting really down to that layer, we can't create a good graphical user interface for it. So we're in an age where working from the API level becomes much more possible. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let's 4 minutes, 19 seconds. I always end on time. Okay, so why are agents popular right now? They're popular because of one reason. Token costs went way down last year. So if you remember, paying for tokens, so-called large language model tokens, it was kind of hard. It was kind of like, do you have some GPT-4? Can I get some? Okay, it was like that, But then when GPT-4o, 4o mini came out, the mini it was like, oh my gosh, it's like I can have so many tokens now. So why is that relevant? It's because in the early days, do you remember when search was expensive? Who remembers when search was like, oh, we can't search. Oh, it's so expensive. But search was expensive. So, and a search that was happening all the time, forget that. We can't pay for that, right? So an agent running GPT-4 all the time, no way. But now it can run all the time. So, and because they can run all the time, their service, we run into the problem of autonomy, which you can argue is just a loop, because it is a loop, So I recommend for everyone who's having a hard time in this new phase, anytime you said model, just say agent. Just do like a Command R or Control R or whatever. And just remember that looping is the fundamental thing. So I wrote this book in 2019. It took me 6 years. I wrote it to explain to people how computer science works, and it was a complete failure in the market. It was way too early. MIT Press is reissuing it on paperback. But it explains perhaps the only thing that I think I've discovered in life, which is that it is the loop construct that is so alien to any of us. The loop construct, essentially, a computer program can run in a loop forever. It doesn't get tired. And once you grasp the fact that it can run in a loop and never gets tired, you pause for a second and say, that doesn't obey the laws of physics. Correct. It obeys different laws of a different world, and understanding that world is key to unlocking how to create in this new era. Yes, I did that. Okay, so I have perhaps 3 hours of content that I can't go over. Let me see here. Let me see. Ooh, we got 1 minute 28. Okay, we talked about AX, no UX, AX. Okay, so I recommend for those of you who have not done it yet, go to any developer doc sites out there and do /LLMs.txt, LLMs.txt. It'll sort of make you sort of pause for a second. Like, what's this file for? Most of you know about robots.txt. It's this sort of thing that says, hey, robots don't come in here or go look over here. LLMs.txt is interesting because it's a description for an LLM to parse the website. A more interesting thing is if you've typed LLMs-full.txt. That's the full manual for how to use the site. So what is that? That is the fundamental of Agentic Experience. It's instructions for agents for how to use things. Okay, we kind of ended on that. Okay, 27 seconds. Thank you for your attention. I have a long-form version of this stuff on video, et cetera, whatever. I hope you make friends here, because that's the point of doing this. On a Teams or Zooms call, it's kind of hard to make friends. You can emoji each other to death, but it doesn't work out. So this is a good thing. Okay, please, everyone use that. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.